44. We were ready to pick in June, and now we are in November. Staff did an unbelievable job collecting information, watching film, constant updates, changes. We were able to adjust and adapt to schedules of chasing some of the prospects. Selecting Patrick, who's physical specimen, one of the youngest prospects in the draft class. Defensive versatility is what we liked. Long arms, big hands, such a upside and potential. This is what the NBA is today. He can play from 1 through 5. Played point guard in high school. Humble kid that is mature beyond his years. Then at 44, we selected Marko Simonovic from Serbia. He plays for Mega. 7-footer that can handle and shoot. Very versatile, can pass, runs the floor, gets to the free throw a lot, high basketball IQ, can do a little bit of everything. At that size is very unique. He's a 7-footer, so plays with pace and high motor. So we were very happy with our both selections. So I can take questions now, Matt.
All right. Thanks, Arturas. Darnell Mayberry has the first question. Go ahead, Darnell.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Arturas, my question is about Patrick. To us in the outside world, it seemed like a lot of people thought that his stock rose over the last few weeks. Is that true? And just from you guys' perspective, what do you think led to that? Did his stock rise? And if it did, what led to that?
I just think that the more study you do on Patrick, the more you realize it's like I said in the opening statement, that this is what the NBA is today. That we need players in our league that can play multiple positions, and he's able to do that. He's an elite athlete. He showed that in college. He wasn't as consistent, but he was such on campus in Florida State, he was at such a young age and started, to pick up at the end of the season. And we were able to spend some time with him, interview him, to get to know him a little bit. And, for us, he was the guy to get.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Cheryl Ray Stout with WBEZ. Go ahead, Cheryl Ray.
Hi, Arturas. At what point in the process did you target him, that you knew that this was the guy that you wanted? And how difficult was it during this time of trying to figure out how to put this all together?
Well, we studied those guys for such a long time, from film, because we couldn't see him play, right, since March. So we studied a lot of film, a lot of video. We were ready, obviously, to select in June, but we got extra 5 months to do our diligence. And the more we were digging in his background, and we were able to actually see him, that's how we came to our decision that this is our guy. And like I said, athleticism, versatility, multiple positions, and obviously the fact that his ball handling is something that is very underrated, and people didn't see it in college, where for 3 years in high school he played point guard. So I was very impressed.
Thank you.
Eric Woodward with ESPN's up next. Go ahead, Eric.
What's up, AK? How you doing, man?
How you doing?
Obviously with this being the first draft and, the new regime in the roles, how big did you guys feel like it was to set the tone with this pick, to get the right guy? Was it any extra pressure, or just this whole process, did you feel like you had to pick the right guy?
Well, Eric, I never picked that high, and in the draft, when you pick 4, you need to like 4 guys. In a way, it was a little bit easier than liking 20 guys. And so, it was, we realized that, hopefully we're never going to be in the situation again and pick that high. So, this was the opportunity to get it right, because the projection of players picked in the top 5 is much higher. It drops significantly afterwards. So we wanted to get it right, and Patrick was our guy.
Thanks, man.
Next question comes from Cody Westrone with 670 The Score. Go ahead, Cody.
How seriously did you consider trading up? How seriously did you consider trading down? And in those, what did you learn just about asking prices around the league?
So, from doing our diligence and calling around the league, the perception of around the league about certain players was very, distinct. You go from team to team. Certain teams would have a player at 5, and certain teams have that same player at 20. So there was a lot of split opinions around, so in order to kind of move back, you really have to like players moving back, and we didn't feel comfortable, doing that. And, at 4, we were really happy, in that position, and because we knew we had a chance to pick Patrick, and we just stayed there, and we got our player.
Did you seriously consider trading up?
We did not. We always were waiting for any opportunities, but we actually were really happy to be at 4.
All right, Mike McGraw with the Daily Herald. You're up. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Arturas, I was curious, do you remember the first time you saw Patrick Williams play in person? And was he a guy who really jumped out to you then, or was it a matter of his improvement from early last season to, when you saw him before the draft that stood out to you?
So I knew that he got to Florida State campus when he was 17 years old, and watch his improvement through the year, from game to game. He became more aggressive, took more charge, and attacked the basket more, shot the ball better. We watched a ton of interviews even prior to college, and to get a player of 19, just turned 19, and in August, to be that level of maturity at this point, and willingness to learn, it's hard to find. So the more we studied Patrick, the more we liked him.
Casey Johnson with NBC Sports Chicago. Go ahead, Casey.
Arturas, how you doing?
How are you, Casey?
Good. What is going to be the philosophy with Marco? I mean, the knee-jerk reaction was draft and stash guy, which I asked you about in August, and you said wait till the draft and you'll find out. Or are you going to bring him over and give him a chance?
Yeah, so we're going to stash him for at least a year. He's going to stay there. But we were really excited to draft him, because he's another guy that improved this year. He was 51% from the floor, 41 from a 3. He averaged 16 and 10 in Adriatic League, and it was a very unique ability for us to see him, because there's no other leagues going on, nobody's playing, and we were able to actually to see his games, at least on video. We were not able to travel, but so, and after collecting all the information, we again identify Marco as our target at 44.
And I have a quick follow-up on another subject. Can you explain the decision-making process behind your qualifying offers to your restricted free agents?
I think we were addressing that, looking at free agency, and looking at the things that we need to add shooting, and those probably decisions were there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sam
And
Smith.
obviously the roster spots were limited, so we're going to be really picky in free agency.
Even though we're told the NBA is a positionless game,
Yep.
what position would you, when the game starts, everybody sort of takes a position. What position would you say he is? And also, does this tell us anything, or looking forward towards your philosophy, or what is ahead for the future in the Bulls, given that he's so young and, at least for now, is more a defensive player who's playing with a mid-range game?
I think his perception was, I didn't agree with perception that people have of him, because they thought he's a raw athlete and he wasn't skilled. And when I saw his skill level and ball handling and shooting and ability to pass, I would disagree. This is, he's just that, raw athlete that, he knows how to play. He just knows how to play. So I think another, he's a versatile defender, so he can guard from 1 to 5. So I don't even know, Sam, what position he is. He's gonna identify that when he gets here to Chicago, and and Coach Donovan, he's gonna be able to use him. He's gonna plug him in, whatever he feels like he's gonna be able to perform right now. But like I said, he can play multiple positions. If you watch Florida State games, even after baskets, he would be full court pressing on top, guards, and that's a very unique skill for such a athletic and big player.
I wanted to add something just quickly, just one quick one. You're sort of describing the point guard in high school, defensive, playing up court like that. You're sort of describing Scottie Pippen. Is that a comparison?
I don't know. He was a very good player in NBA. I just think that when he played point guard in high school, he was very small. So I think he grew like 8 inches in high school, but he kept his skill set, and that is valuable. So when he got to Florida State, he was obviously ready to do whatever coach is telling him to do. But I think I saw growth during the year, and he was taking more and more responsibility. The season ended abruptly, but like I said, we were able for 6 months to analyze his game, and then we're able to see him.
All right, next question's with Jamal Collier from the Chicago Tribune. Go ahead, Jamal.
Hey, Arturas. I think all rookies are going to have a bit of an adjustment with the short turnaround, no summer league, et cetera. Patrick Williams is one of the younger rookies in this entire draft. How do you think that adjustment is going to go for him? And do you kind of envision it taking maybe some time for him to make an impact, or can you make one right away?
No, I think it'll take him some time, but I think he already knows a lot of players on the team, and one of them is obviously Kobe. They're both from North Carolina. They know each other from AAU ball, familiar with each other. So I think transition is going to be a little bit easier. But again, I mean, you had only 1 year of college basketball, you come into the NBA. So it's going to be an adjustment. But he's type of kid that, he's ready to learn. He's very inquisitive, ask questions, what I can do better. And I saw huge growth over a very short period of time. So I'm not worried about that.
Another position I think that a lot of people were sort of had their eye on for you all in this draft was point guard, and just sort of a playmaker. Is that a position that you think you necessarily want to address or going forward in free agency at some point this offseason?
Yeah, so we're gonna sit down tomorrow. We're gonna spend some time talking about free agency. Again, we're trying to take one thing at a time, and we got through this draft, which is obviously we were very excited. We will address all the questions about the roster in free agency.
Thanks.
Rob Schaefer, you're up next. Go ahead.
Hey, Arturas. Wondering with the talk of a partnership between you and Billy, I'm wondering how much, and even talking with Patrick and throughout the pre-draft process, how much his role with the team has been discussed going into the season, and kind of how you see all the skills and the attributes that you've described fitting with this roster and helping this roster currently.
Well, I think, the guys are just getting in the building. We just had obviously, the in-market bubble for a very short time. Billy had a very few days, to spend with the team. So those things and those questions going to be answered once we, start, getting in the gym consistently. And once Patrick gets here, we'll spend time with him. So I'm just looking forward for him to get here, and he can't wait to get to Chicago. It's a very short time between now and training camp, December 1st. So we're gonna try to the learning curve is gonna be very steep. So we're gonna try to do our best to integrate him in our practice.
And one more from me. It was just reported that you guys are possibly looking to sign Devon Dotson, who's a point guard from Kansas. It's an undrafted free agent. I was wondering if you could confirm that possibly and kind of describe what you see in him as a potential fit.
We'll address that during the free agency. So, and we can talk about that in more detail.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Darnell, you're up again. Go ahead.
Yeah, Arturas, it's a kind of a two-part question. One, this was your first draft night as the lead decision maker, and I'm wondering what you took away from it. How did it go for you, your impressions overall? And then from your staff standpoint, your first time with this staff, just impressions there and how you think it all went with the group.
Well, I like draft because, I like that kind of intensity and pressure because that's probably as close as you can get to playing days, and that kind of intensity drives me. So that's about the draft. It's our Super Bowl, right? All your staff is working to find a player and to draft them, and I think our staff did a wonderful job prior to the draft and during the draft. With exchanging information and getting ready to, to draft draft players. So I think overall tonight we drafted players that we were targeting, and it doesn't happen very often.
Thank you.
Casey Johnson, go ahead, Casey.
Yeah, and just real quick, Arturas, following up on Darnell, because I was going to ask something similar, but did it feel any different? I mean, I know you've been in a lot of draft rooms and you've worked for different organizations, but this is the first time you're in the lead role for a new franchise. So did it feel any different on a personal level for you?
Well, it's special to me, and I received a ton of texts from executives around the league, and they were all telling me, enjoy your night, and that's what I did, and it's special to me. It's my first night as a lead exec of Chicago Bulls, and I thought it was a very successful night, so I'm happy about it.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Arturas? Okay. All right. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you guys hopefully in a couple weeks.
Thank you, everybody.
Good
Thanks
night.
for patience.
Thanks.
Thanks, man.
No.